Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Safe Space, where we provide you a safe space to ask questions regarding Christian faith that you never get to ask. My name is Reggie, and I'm your host for today. And today, for this episode, we're going to talk about a topic called how to embrace difficult seasons as a Christian. And we are very glad today to have Kenneth from Republic Poly to be our guest for this episode. Right, so maybe Kenneth, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kenneth. I'm 19 and I study HR management and psychology.
Nice. Okay, so I think before we begin, because today we are going to talk about something very personal, because we first read about your stories in Thurs regarding passing away of your loved one, and I think we are thankful for your vulnerability and encouragement we're encouraged that you came on board here to actually share your story. So before we dive into your story or some of these questions, I would like to ask, as a host, what are some of the how can I make this time a safe space for you as we talk about?
Yeah, I think for me, I feel like having this open conversation is very helpful. As we talk and as we carry out this conversation, right? Letting me share openly, I guess, would be very helpful, lah. And sometimes I might slow down when I talk about memories and all, but yeah, that will help, lah.
Sure. I definitely will watch that for you. I just want to also give a heads up that if anytime you don't feel alright, you would like to stop the recording, feel free to just let me know. Okay, so let's begin with something for entry, which is, as you grew up as a Christian, right? What were you taught in church about responding in difficult time as a Christian?
Okay. I think when I was being brought up, right, even attending Sunday school and listening to the kids services and all that, what was normally taught, right, is that we should process all these things with God and speak to God and all that. But I think a hidden message, right, which wasn't explicitly stated, but this message that was being sort of spread among the church community is that as believers, right, as Christians, we must always do our best to remain positive, or to have this positive attitude, in everything that we do. It must be that good Christian boy or the good Christian girl, and you must always be happy, lah. Yeah, and always do your best and just remain happy. Yeah.
So after experiencing a loss, just for info for those who are listening to this podcast, for Kenneth, he has just lost a sister, right? So as you go through this sudden death of your sister, so after going through it, what would you then learn about how should a Christian respond in a tough and difficult time?
Yeah, I think something that a lot of other Christians have been telling me, during this season, right, is you must keep trusting God, keep having your eyes upon God and keep asking God for answers. But I think the truth is, as much as Christians, right, we want to have our eyes fixed on God and to keep trusting Him. I think in reality, right, when you're put into that situation yourself, you realize that it's not as easy as it sounds, lah. Because trusting God means that you surrender all your worries onto God to really lay your burdens before Him, lah. And when you are really filled with so much emotional burden or emotional hurt or so much stress and frustration, right, it's actually much more difficult, lah, than it sounds. Yeah, but I think something that I've learned, right, is that it's really okay not to be okay. That even in moments where you are feeling down, right, it's alright to be in that position. And it's even when we are feeling so low, right, that God can really meet us where we are, lah. And yeah, I think even when I really don't feel like it, right, yeah, when I'm always not able to keep other people's standards of what they want for me, right, it's really when I can still trust that God is working. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that, so before this tough time that happened, what you have here in church is mainly about staying positive, or even as you go through it, generally people would tell you that to trust God, right? But one of the important things you learned throughout the whole experience was that it's okay to feel not okay. And it's okay to take your time to navigate through what God is doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So as you go through the recent episode earlier this year, right? How did you make sense of things when you don't have a clear explanation from God or from anybody?
Right. I think for me, right, something that I realized, right, is that as humans, right, we always want answers. Yeah, we always want to, know what causes it. Like, if for example, like I throw a pen now and the pen were to drop, like I know it's because of gravity, but if I don't know why it dropped, right, I'll always be thinking, so why did it drop? Why did it drop? And I think in such a situation, it's also very easy lah to to ask God, why God, why does this have to happen to me? Of all the people who could pass away, right, it had to be my sister, and I have to be the one who is on the receiving end of this grief, of this hurt. Yeah, and I did spend a lot of time asking God why lah. And I think something that I learned, right, is that maybe we don't always need to have the answers to why. Yeah, but what I did instead, right, was to be really seek God in prayer lah, to really spend time crying out to God, with all my feelings of grief and all, and to really converse with Him lah, even though I don't have any answers, right. I think spending time with God is really important as well. Yeah, and I think more than just asking God, like more than just telling Him or telling God things, right, it's also like, being willing to listen to God. Because a lot of times we always tend to speak, we like to talk a lot, right? And we like to, express or ask for things. But oftentimes, we fail to humble ourselves to listen. Yeah, and I think through this season, right, what I realized also is that God can really work in ways we don't expect lah. Yeah, like when we ask God why, like, like for everyone, not only with death, but with life as well, like the questions that we have, we always ask why. Yeah, I think even through the asking of this, right, God maybe can reveal things to us in different ways. Yeah, maybe by sending like a friend to help us, to speak to us, or even making things work differently. It's really true, like these situations that God can really reveal Himself, not just by answering our whys, right, but I think even in working in the things around us as well.
So in this time of talking to God very like honestly, I think what I got from your sharing is that even though you don't have answer, but it was a time of being very honest with God, and it was a time where there was a lot of silence, of listening, just listening to what God have to say, and that's where you begin to see things from God's perspective. Yeah. So what are some things that in your silent or in your this journey you begin to discover about God, or what did God actually show you?
Yeah, I think it was very true this, right, that God revealed Himself to be one who comforts lah. Like we always see God as a provider, or we see God as someone who takes care of His children. But it was really only through this situation, right, that God really revealed Himself to be one who comforts lah. Yeah, and it's not something that everyone will get to experience or to feel for themselves. But even in this season, right, where I felt a lot of grief and a lot of like pain, and to others it may seem as something that's very unjust, that's very unfair lah, like it shouldn't happen at all. But even when I had these feelings, right, or these doubts that I had, is God even still real, at times, it's really when God comes through as one who comforts, to listen to how I'm feeling. I think rather when we can always share to our friends how we feel, but our friends can get exhausted. But God is always there when we want to share, and when He listens, He really listens lah. And I think God really gives me this sense of peace that that sharing with my friends can't bring, and it's really a peace that cannot be bought lah, but it can only be given by God. Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say again because I haven't been through it. But I think from your story, I can relate it with I think the common book of the Bible called Job, right? So Job is also a man that went through a lot of difficulties, but he doesn't have answer from God that why this thing happened. But eventually, when at the end of Job, what he got back was a greater view, a greater understanding of who God is. So instead of God answering him why it happens, God revealed Himself to him of who He is. which I think in your case, God actually revealed to himself to be a God of comfort to you. Yeah. I'm going to ask you a question that is not what I was given. So I'm just curious, like, as you go, now that you're on hindsight, as you go through, right? If believer or God's people, your Christian friends, were to give you a safe space in this time of needs, uh, how would you like that safe space to be like? Instead of, I mean, the common thing is people will just, I mean, sometimes people out of good intentions trust God, right?
Correct.
But it may not help, you see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what would you then tell your Christian friends if someone were to go through this? How can they give a safe space for the Christians who go through tough time?
Yeah, I think something that's really fundamental to building this safe space would be to not be judgmental lah, to be open to listen. Because a lot of times, right, when Christians we go through different experiences, some may be very relatable and some are not so relatable lah. So like for example, if I tell you my sister passed away, right, to you it may not be something that you could relate with. Yeah, so like when I want to share it to my Christian friends, right, I hope that they are open to listen to how I feel, and also provide me advice lah. But even if they're not able to provide me advice, I think being open to listen and to be able to like hear what I have to say, what's on my heart, I think that really helps lah. And I actually found a few friends who have been willing to listen, and it's really helped me a lot lah. And not only do they listen, but they also point me back to God. Yeah, which has been helpful in my journey with God also.
Okay, that's good. That's good to hear actually. Yeah. So maybe we move on to the last questions. Like, how would you encourage people, right, or Christians who are also going through some similar situation as you?
Yeah, I think in such a situation, it's very easy to want to question God, to want to blame God. God, where are you? Why is it when I need you, you're not even here, and I see nothing, I feel nothing. But it's very true lah that God isn't done with us yet. And not only in good seasons, right, is God there, but even in our lower seasons as well. And something which I really believe lah is that in our lower seasons, right, when we cry out to God, and when we ask God where is he, right, it's even in these seasons, right, that God can use to really refine our faith, to really help us to grow lah. Because it's like a rubber band. In order for it to stretch, for it to be longer, right, you need to stretch it and you need to grow. And this growing process, right, can be one that's painful, one that's very difficult to go through and difficult, to experience. But it's when we are in the waiting, right, that God is still good lah. And even when we don't understand what's going on, when we choose to hold on, it's really when when we come to the end of the season, we are able to look back, and we're able to see that, hey, God, you've still been good lah. Even when I didn't feel like it back then, you still work things out for your good lah. And I think that's something that I want to share like with the rest of you as well. That even at times, like it might be in your school or your studies or even your family as well, right? When things feel very difficult, right? And you just feel like giving up because you feel like God's not there. I think that's when you should continue lah to choose to hold on and believe that God is good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what you shared reminds me about Psalms 23, where this is the idea about the last verse of verse 6 talks about surely goodness and mercy shall follow us for the rest of our life, and we will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So this verse was after even the verses about how God as a shepherd will lead you through the valley of the dark and lead you through tough time. So surely, like even in tough times, we can be assured that God is a good shepherd, and His goodness and mercy shall follow us for the rest of our life. Yeah, I think it's a good sharing that you have. So I think because I think we have a bit of time, right? Yay! So we can chat further about this. I just now have a question, but the question ran away from my mind. I think let me just try to recall. Oh no. Huh? Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I remember. So I'm curious, like, so times have passed, you have processed some of these things.
Mm.
Where would you say in this losing of your sister suddenly, this episode, where are you currently now?
I think okay, I would have mostly like I've like sort of I won't say gotten over it because we will really never get over it in a way, but more of processed the feelings of grief lah with like with God and with the people around me as well. Yeah, and I think it's like during these few months, right? That people have shared with me like people around my age who are in IT, who are in poly, they've also shared with me about the death of their family members. Like one of my friends shared with me about the death of his mom, and there's like a lot of feelings that we all mutually go through, right? And it's really through meeting these people, right, that I get to share with them how I feel, they get to share with me how they feel, and we get to share together about how we get to grow closer towards God, like even in this season. Yeah, but I think as a whole, right, I would say I process a lot of I processed most of the grief already, but of course there would still be a journey to come lah, that will have to be journeyed with God lah. Yeah, even things like hey, fun fact lah, I share the same birthday as my sister.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So like every year when I celebrate my birthday from now
Oh.
on, like I'll remember my sister's birthday also.
Oh.
Yeah. So definitely there'll be things that remind me of her as well. But I think rather than looking at it as, feelings of regret or feelings of grief, I think it will take time, but I think together with God, right, that when I sort of process these feelings, right, I'll be able to see as looking back with joy lah, to remember the memories that we had, and also remembering that my sister is with God now lah. Yeah.
Wow. As I just sit on the same birthday every month, every year, wow, I think it's a very mixed feeling you would have to celebrate every year. Yeah. What is one verse in the Bible that, like, so far you have been keeping on even in this this tough journey?
One verse.
Maybe not one verse, maybe it could be a passage or that gives you the strength or always align you when you start to waver.
One verse. Let me think. Okay, because there are a lot of verses that really help me, but I'm trying to think of one right now. It's sort of like disappeared from my brain.
Same. I just had to catch it back.
Yeah, okay, let me catch it back.
Yeah, it's okay. Remember, we this is a safe space, right? So take your time, as you requested earlier. Let you think, right?
Yeah.
Or it could be a song too.
A song. Yeah. Okay, for me, songs are easier to remember.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I always run to songs before I read the Bible. Yeah, but okay, I think I shared it, on the article before, but I'll just share it again. That song is Seasons lah by Hillsong. So like the lyrics goes, though the waiting prolongs, even richer the harvest it brings. And it really means a lot to me lah, because like in this season where I'm like, like I feel like I'm receiving nothing, right? Or when I feel like nothing is happening and I'm just in that cycle of being sad and sad over again, right? And it really is true lah, that the harvest that will come will be greater, because like even at the end of this season, right, when we look back at the harvest, right, the harvest to me would be what God has taught me. It would be what I've learned and how I've helped others who are in a similar situation as me. And I think it will take time lah, but eventually I hope lah that when I look back at it, I can say it's worth it all lah. Yeah.
Understand. Oh, producer, do we have time for one more question? Yay. So I just curious, just going back to earlier when you mentioned that what you were taught in church, how to go through tough time, is a lot of positive, thinking, right? So now that you share some of these thoughts, some people may take it that, oh, it may be also positive thinking. Like how is it different? Like, or is there any different?
Let's see the
Maybe
difference between
positive thinking and trying to tell yourself to think positively. Like, because you mentioned about that just now, you mentioned about something greater, something reward, right? So that itself can sound like a positive thinking. Yeah. So what is the difference? Is there a difference?
right. I think that would be a key difference. In okay, with the positive thinking, which may not be the most accurate, right? Like just like be a good Christian boy. Don't cry because crying is not good for you. You can't do anything and all. It sounds very biblical because they are trying to link the Bible to it, but I think like saying like what I shared about staying positive, right? I think the difference is that it claims Bible truths. Yeah, like God has promised He'll be faithful to take care of us, like how He takes care of the birds, and He'll take care of us as well. And it's really truth that I hold on to because I know that God is one who is faithful and He keeps His word And as I draw nearer to Him, He will draw nearer to me as well. And I think that's the main difference between what others tell me, which is sometimes very easy to accept because it sounds correct. But when we take a step back, when we choose to process these thoughts, right, or these sayings, right, then we can really see whether it has biblical truth in them. And if it's biblically true, it's things that I will hold on to and then that keeps me going in my walk with God.
That's a good point. That means positive thinking sometimes is just you just take it as because it's the right thing to think about. But I think it's learning to process it in your context, and as you go through it, how does it make sense to you,
right.
Okay, Ken, I think we have kind of reached our max. But Kenneth, really thank you so much for being here and really sharing honestly your thoughts. I was supposed to say earlier, but I think I should say now so that we are sorry to hear your loss also. And we thank you that you took the courage even to share your articles on the thirst. So for those who are interested to read about the article, the title is "Even in Death and Grief, God is Still in Control." Right? So you can search the article for Kenneth's story. And I think you can leave a comment or ask if you want to connect with Kenneth also. I think you are very open for people to connect with you, to share, and to, I think because you went through it, right? So I think people could resonate and find encouragement from you. So feel free to connect with Kenneth and also with us as well. So for those who are listening to this podcast, should you like have questions about faith, feel free to reach out to us. No question is a bad question. Just ask and let's journey together, and we promise that we don't give you textbook answer, but we want to also journey with you to find the answer. So that's all for this episode. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and follow us on Instagram called Safe Space. Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye.